Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kim and I am from the account Dodges and Daisies. You can find me on Instagram at Dodges and Daisies. You can also find me at my website, which is dodgesanddaisies.com. I do have my own stationery shop and I also blog once in a while. You can also find me on Pinterest or on YouTube. So thanks so much for joining me today. Today is my 6th video on YouTube, but it's actually number 5 in the 10 supply challenge. I did take a break my previous video because I wanted to do a journal with friends collaboration spread and just share that with you guys, just because this 10 supply challenge is just kind of like a way to think outside the box and expand yourself creatively if you're in kind of like a journaling rut. And I also think journal collabs are a great way to do that, so I felt like sharing that too, just because it was along the same theme. Picking a word or theme, phrase, color, holiday, and just making a collab with a friend or two where you each do a spread with that like theme in mind is just another great way just to kind of stretch those creative muscles. So that was my last video, but we're picking back up today with the 5th layout in the 10 supply challenge. If this is your first time tuning in, we are taking only 10 supplies that we pick out before we sit down, and we're putting them on a separate desk, or if you only have one desk, you're just gonna put them right next to you, and we are only going to use those 10 supplies and no cheating. And we have been surprised, I think, with just how cohesive and easy to put together these have been, and it's because we've only allowed ourselves to use a couple of things, but they've also been coming out really pretty and kind of a lot more complicated looking than I was expecting them to. So it's been a really fun challenge. I try to do something similar to this around once a year, and it always actually gets me to use the supplies I already have, which is also a good practice. So today we are sticking with the 2022 journal. As you guys can see, this thing is getting thick. I did finish the first signature, and I'm actually almost finished with the second signature as well. I haven't shared the second signature at all on socials, so I haven't shared it on YouTube or Instagram or anything. And that's because it's going to be like its own separate video. I'm not going to be doing a journal with me for any of these things. I'm just going to be doing a flip through. So when that's ready, I will be doing a flip through, and it should be ready pretty soon. I only have a couple more in the signature, and now I'm going to try to get to the 3rd signature without showing you guys the surprise. But it's very, very different. I've never journaled something like this before. All right, so this is signature 3 now. The first spread in signature 3 was the journal collab that I did with Haley of Periwinkle's Envelope and Christine of Peppa Time Capsule. Our theme was strength and hope, and this was my take on it, so you can tune into the last video if you're interested in how I did that. And now we're going to pick back up with the 10 supply challenge. So it is less than a month to my absolute favorite holiday, and that is Valentine's Day. I mentioned before the way some people get super excited about Christmas, I do with Valentine's Day, and it's not that I don't like the romantic aspect of it. My husband and I actually got engaged on Valentine's Day, so trust me, I do love the romantic aspect of it. We've been together, it's going to be 20 years in April, so we've been together a really long time. He is my best friend and the love of my life, so I am not knocking the romantic aspect of Valentine's Day. But for me, it's just my favorite craft holiday. I think it's really fun to play around with kind of like a more romantic, old-fashioned stationery time. It just really excites me, and today's going to be our first spread using Valentine's Day themes. I know Valentine's Day isn't for everyone, so I'm not going to do the rest of this whole challenge in this theme, but probably the next 2 or 3 spreads, just because, like I said, it really is my favorite time. So to start off, our first supply is going to be vintage music sheets. We used a hymnal last time that we did this, but today I am choosing from this book, Songs of Purpose. It's a really beautiful book I found in upstate New York, which is my favorite place to go antiquing and thrifting. It is from 1929. I love when I see these kinds of things. Not only does it have really beautiful music in it, but it has these gorgeous book plates of illustration that I don't know even what to do with them because they're just so pretty. I might even frame them or journal with them. I'm really not sure yet, but they're really gorgeous. And yeah, I just love this book. So this book is what we're going to be using for our background paper. I picked out a couple of music sheets already. Some of them kind of had that Valentine-y theme going on, like Fairer Than Thee, I thought was kind of romantic. And what else do we have? Sometimes I just pick things that have like good like context to them, where there's a lot of music and not a lot of like interruptions in the pages. I thought the butterfly could work for Valentine's Day, so we'll see, but definitely this one. That is our first supply. Our second supply is simply craft paper, and I have a couple of different sizes picked out because there is something specific I wanted to use it for. I personally believe that if we're doing a Valentine-y spread, and you can see we have lots of reds and pinks going on, I like it when it's grounded with more earthy colors. To me, if it's only bright and only pinks and only purples and reds, it's really going to be overwhelming and a little too bright for me. So I like to just take those colors, but then combine them with more muted earthy colors like browns and beiges. So that's why we have our vintage music, our craft paper. I did bring back the vintage measuring tape, again, just to kind of ground the spread. I have mushrooms, craft paper labels. Both of those are, again, from Love Handmade from Kinga. I absolutely love her shop, so I will list that down below. Please check her out. She makes really beautiful supplies. I brought in a couple of butterflies again, just because I think that they can be kind of romantic. And we have from the bostonbaglady, that's another one of my favorite Etsy shops. I will list her down below too. She makes really beautiful reproduction of vintage Valentine's stickers. So these aren't the actual vintage Valentines, but they are reproductions of them, and they're really easy to use because she makes them into stickers. So just an easy craft supply, and I think they're adorable. I have a lot of these, so I just took out a couple this way not to get too overwhelmed or confused, because I'll probably just be using like 2 or 3, and I didn't want to take out like all 30 of them that I bought from her. So we just have a couple there. We do have a bunch of doilies. We will probably not be using more than 1 or 2, but kind of have to bring out your doilies when you're doing a Valentine's Day spread. And we also have our vintage stamps again. I've been using, as you guys know, just either brown or black stamps, occasionally green. Today I took out just a whole bunch of reds and purples and pinks and just maroons, and just because I thought that would really go with our Valentine's Day theme, and I just stuck them in a separate plate. I also have a couple of the love stamps, and I thought that those could be cute. So we have these set aside just for our theme. And last but not least are our actual vintage Valentines. So these are not replicas. These are true vintage Valentines. A lot of them are from the 1800s. And vintage postcards are just my everything. I just love them so much. And I've already chosen which one I'll be crafting with. It is one that has been damaged, but is still really beautiful. As we can see, this has a rip here, and it's, you know, it's definitely got a little age damage. But I still thought that the rose was really beautiful, but because it's damaged, I don't really feel badly about using it in a spread. These guys, though, I just wanted to share with you, like I shared the book, just because they're kind of fun. These I hang up every year. I like put them on a little string in my studio, and I hang them as decor because they're just too kind of precious to ever craft with for me, so I use them as decor instead. But I just think that they're just so precious. I mean, there's nothing like vintage Valentines to me. They're just so beautiful. And like the hand with the dove holding a letter, you just don't see things that look like this anymore. I love this one because the little angel is a post office worker and is delivering Valentines. So cute. This is one of my favorites, and this is a recent one I got on the last time we went for a road trip. So yeah, I love them. I think they're beautiful, and vintage cards are a really, really great way to add some extra journaling space. You can journal in the back, or just as a collage tool, or like a tag in your journals. So these, like I said, these are decorations, but just examples of what you can use to stick in your journal, and it just kind of gives it a really beautiful, authentic vintage feel. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to start off like I usually do with our paper. So I'm going to be measuring, not really measuring, you guys know I'm not that precise of a crafter, but I do really like the title. So if I can keep the title in this one, I'm going to try. And I'll just go like this. As I've mentioned in my previous journals, my journal with me's with this 10 supply challenge, this is a like more writing and art journal combination. So we have been really just sticking with like partial page decoration, not full page decoration. If you'd like to see what I've been doing, you can check out my previous videos on this channel. I really kind of go into what I try to do in, you know, my previous videos, where I explain I just have been trying to keep the spreads not like a full art page spread, not a full collage, but leave ample room in the middle for journaling, because this particular journal came at a difficult time in life where I just felt like I needed a spot to really just kind of get wording out too. Sometimes it's really cathartic just to collage and just to do an art journal, and you can kind of get your emotions out just as well. But I personally just needed a spot for both. I needed a spot where I could really just write a lot. So what I chose to do was create a journal that had, like here I put the journaling in there, that's a little different, but I can't share yet with you the other ones. But what we've been doing is just kind of keeping it either like a triangle theme and building out from there, or just kind of half the page, just to give room for a lot of words that can go in the middle. I think we're gonna do really big and bold doilies this time. Normally I actually don't use doilies that are that large, but I think today we will, because it's my first Valentine's Day spread of the year and I'm kind of excited. So we're going all out today. As you see, I do use a backup page for gluing. This comes in handy when you're using papers that are over 100 years old, like the music sheets are, but also with doilies, just because we can see they're very delicate. There's a lot of holes in them. This kind of paper and this kind of ephemera, especially, I tend to use vintage doilies as well, rip really easily. So just having a really good glue base helps them not to rip and just to stay a little bit stronger. And yeah, that's why I do that. This guy isn't exactly even, but if any of you have been watching this channel, you know I really don't strive for perfection. I just kind of strive for, I guess, what feels right. So we're going to, like I said, just really try to keep a balance with the browns and the beiges, the earthy tones and colors, the vintage ephemera with the like reds and pinks, because I really do think that it makes a nicer looking page. And this definitely does have a very different look to the previous things that I've done. I wanted to start off really, really simple and slow with the first pages that I did, just to show you that you really could be at any skill level as a journaler. You could be just starting out, or you could be somebody like me that's been doing this for years and years and years, that is really just kind of happy with simplicity and minimalism. You can be somebody that has too many supplies, that you feel overwhelmed with the amount of supplies you have, and it's easier just to kind of pick out a couple and work with that, which is kind of where I am at right now. I feel like I do have a lot of supplies after all the years that I've been doing this, and sometimes I get overwhelmed with how much I have, so just taking out a couple makes it easier for me to craft. Or you can be somebody that doesn't have a lot of supplies, and I wanted to show you guys too that doesn't matter at all. You can still create really beautiful things as you grow your collection, and yeah, you don't need a lot to make something pretty. So right now I'm just, doilies they're hard to craft with. That's the one downfall of Valentine crafting. I'm just making sure the edges are down. I feel like I say a similar version to this every video. Like, really truly be true to yourself and who you are, because things will come out best when that's the case. If I try to put on somebody else's style, it's just not going to turn out right. So like, I am very aware of like who I am and the kinds of things that I like, and because of that, like, I know that when I make Valentine spreads, they're going to have more of a vintage vibe to them. They're going to be using, like I said, like browns and beiges and those kinds of colors to balance them out. But if you are not that type of person, if you're more of, somebody that is very like girly, and you do like more frilly things, like, then 100% be that person. And yeah, then your spread will come out well, because you're being true to who you are. You always, always, always have to be true to who you are. You can't put on another hat and expect it to come out well. And I hope that makes sense. There is literally only one you, and that's because the world needed that you. If it needed somebody different, it would have had somebody different. So what I'm doing right now is I'm making a pocket for the card. And I think I'm going to stick it right here. First, let me measure. Make sure that that's okay. I might stick it right there. So in order to make the pocket, very, very simple. All I did was take some larger craft paper and I just measured a little bit more than where the postcard is. And I did that because I knew that I would be using the Crafty Power Tape, which I do use in cases like pockets or where, you know, something's a little thicker. And I just wanted to make sure that that card could fit into that pocket. And see, it still kind of isn't. I didn't measure it large enough because the tape does take up some of that. In this case, and normally I would never, ever, ever touch a card like this, but in this case, because this card is so damaged, we see like there's a really big rip right there, and we have some, you know, water stains and some mildew going on. I am gonna trim it just a little bit, just because I'm purely using it for this spread. And like I said, that's not normally something I ever do. But in this case, it's literally just being used for a journal spread and probably just as a journaling tag. So I'm going to allow myself to do that, but normally I don't. And I'm so sorry if that upset anybody who loves vintage ephemera. I hope I didn't scare you guys by doing that. Let's see. It's still a little tight. I'm kind of surprised at myself that this is needing more trimming still. But we're gonna go over here so we take out the least amount of design as possible. I did not go into this thinking that I would be cutting a card that's probably from the 1800s. Oh my gosh. But yeah, now it fits. So like I said, if these were any of my more special cards, there's absolutely no way that I would touch them. I would simply make a tag or something that would fit in there, and I wouldn't cut up something like that. But like I said, this beauty was so damaged to begin with, I didn't feel too bad about it, and it really just adds such a beautiful pop to things that I did want to use it. So you can let me know in the comments if that like killed your crafty heart or not. I hope it didn't. Now I'm going to just decorate this area a little bit. But today, as you saw in the intro, we actually had a snowstorm in South Carolina, which was wonderful. This New Yorker loved it with all of her heart, and I got really, really excited to go play in the snow. Where I grew up on Long Island, which is not New York City, but like a suburb of New York City. The city is technically on the island, but we lived in a suburb about an hour away. Snow was a really, really normal thing for us. So I lived my whole life on Long Island. I was born there, went to school there, lived there until my mid-30s, and then we moved to South Carolina. So, one of the things that I miss most is the snow. It definitely really, really reminds me of home, and I'm somebody that does enjoy the cooler weather. I'd much rather colder weather than warmer weather, and yeah, I miss it. So today was just really fun. We walked around in the snow, we took some pictures, There's some really absolutely gorgeous holly bushes that just line the antique mill where we live, and to see them covered in snow. Holly is just so beautiful to begin with in the winter, but to see it covered in snow today was just really beautiful. So right now I'm just kind of playing around with just the decor of it. This can be taken out because the card was blank, and I can put journaling on the back of it. I'm not sure if I'm going to or not, just because it's very dented. It might just be decorative, but I do have a lot of space to journal here. And right now I would like to do kind of a title here and then just add a couple of stamps, but then I think I'm done with the spread. Like I said, have been really just enjoying a more minimalistic feel to my journal. I think because things have been so overwhelming in life that I've just kind of been in a place where I want to keep my crafting simple. And I know that there will be times where I'll enjoy more complicated spreads, and I'm sure that I can, share that with you guys too. But for right now, I just feel like stress has been so high, and life circumstances have been just so much that I'm really just craving kind of a simpler feel to my crafting. But as you guys can see, I do feel like the nature elements, especially because we kept them not too bright or bold, the butterflies, the mushroom, the vintage paper, the vintage tape, the craft envelopes, and the craft paper, I feel like all of that really grounds how Valentine-y and girly like a red doily or a vintage rose can look. So for those of you who aren't Valentine's Day fans, I hope that you can see maybe that your personality could fit in with the holiday. I know that it is not everybody's favorite holiday, but I do think that you can craft things in your own style. Okay, so I'm back. I did pause the video just because sometimes I feel like I get a little stuck, and in my head, I tend to journal better when I'm just thinking about like myself and what I would prefer in a journal, instead of kind of like performing for Instagram or YouTube. When I think more like what's my style and not more what people expect of me, I tend to like, my anxiety lowers and I can kind of finish a spread easier. I've noticed in the last couple of videos that I get a little too much in my head and then get a little confused with what I'm doing. So I just paused it. There wasn't much left to do for this. I just added some just little details, and I can explain them to you guys now. So I did wind up using the stickers from bostonbaglady. I just used a couple. I kind of liked putting them behind the vintage card just because I felt like it had the appearance to me of just like a group of vintage Valentines, and I really liked that, like an envelope just bursting with Valentines. And to me, that was just kind of fun and festive and kind of encapsulated one of the reasons why I love Valentine's Day so much. I did just add just kind of an extra stamp here and there just to kind of balance out the feel of the layout until it felt right to me. I do talk a lot about using labels for either dates or themes or quotes, but I don't think I've ever showed you guys. Normally what I do with labels is I just write down the date of the day that I'm journaling. It's just an easy way to keep track. But today I did Countdown to Valentine's Day because I wanted this to be a theme of journaling, of why I personally like Valentine's Day, why it means so much to me. There's definitely a lot of reasons why, and you know, some of it has to do, like I said last video, with my mom and the beautiful baskets that she used to make up, me and my sister, of just, Valentine's Day stationery goodies. I just feel like I have very warm memories of elementary school when, everyone would exchange Valentines with each other. There's a lot of reasons why I like it, and I just thought that could be a fun journal entry of like why I enjoy Valentine's Day, the different reasons. So that's why I put the theme there, and this way you guys can also see how I use them. But I really didn't do too much off camera. Like I said, I just added a few more elements just to kind of balance and round out the page. But we definitely did not use more than 10 pieces of ephemera or supplies. And you can see this is a really full, rich, vibrant page that did not call for all that much. And I, again, am liking how it turned out. It is very just vibrant and eye-catching and full to me. It doesn't feel like it's lacking anything. And then I still have all of this space here and here to journal in. And I will probably, because I said that I'll be probably most likely doing Valentine's Day themes for the next 10 journal challenges, I'll probably wait to journal until those 2 are done. This way there's just 3 pages that have that Valentine's Day theme, and I can kind of fully explain all the different reasons why I love it so much, and just really not feel inhibited with the amount of space that I have to write, because this does have a little bit smaller space than I'm used to working with in this particular journal. So that's it. I hope that you guys had fun. If you are Valentine's Day people, I hope that you got excited with me to start adding in these fun little romantic goodies. And if you're not, like I said, I actually would love it if you guys told me if you were or weren't in the comments. If you're not, do you think that Valentine's Day is something that you're going to be crafting this year, or are you going to skip it? Are you going to try to make more of an earthy theme with it or change it in any way? I'd definitely be interested to know. And thank you guys so much for joining me again. It means so much every time I see someone liked or commented or watched a video. It really does. I'm wishing you guys a beautiful morning or night wherever you are, and I appreciate your watch so much. I'll see you soon. Hey guys, so this is the first time I'm trying this out to do kind of like a Q&A at the end of a video. It's also the first time I'm showing my face on YouTube. I have definitely done a lot of that on Instagram, but not YouTube yet. So this is a first. I asked today for any questions to do like a short Q&A at the end of some of these videos, not all of them, but a couple. And I got a really good question that I felt like I did want to include at the end of this one. And it's, how do I balance my health issues with crafting? And that's such a good question, because sometimes I can't, and health issues always have to come first. So the month of December, as you guys know, there were many days that involved either hospitals or emergency rooms or doctor's visits, follow-up specialists, and I just couldn't craft. There were also a lot of days that involved days that I was too weak to get out of bed, even to do things like eat. My husband was bringing my food on trays into the bedroom, and I just laid in bed because I honestly was too weak to even move. So health always comes first. Everybody, I think, likes to try to find a balance between things, like a work-life balance or a health-craft balance in this case. But sometimes there's just not. Sometimes we have to prioritize, and sometimes things have to come second. So in this case, my health had to come first. It was too severe of issues for it not to come first. And my crafting just had to come second. I had to realize, like, my Instagram might suffer because of the algorithm, and it did. It definitely did. The likes on my posts have been much lower since I've come back. My visibility has been much lower since I've come back, but there are priorities, and you just have to prioritize sometimes. My health came first, and things like family should come first. Finances can sometimes have to come first in different seasons. But yeah, and sometimes crafting does have to take a back seat. When I started feeling well enough to craft again, well enough to just kind of sit at my desk instead of sit in my bed, then I started recrafting, and it was very therapeutic for me, because to me, crafting has always been something that's brought a lot of joy. It's brought my stress down. It's a really good anxiety tool for me. It was a really cool, great coping mechanism for me, because there was a lot of hurt and anger and fear that I was dealing with everything. So it was a great thing when I did feel strong enough to kind of sit at my desk and just kind of pour my heart into my journals, or distract myself with some collaging and art. And when I was able to, I did, but I did because it was a helpful and useful thing to me, not because I felt pressure to. And I think that's really important. I think that when we do make the choice to bring that craft back to our life craft balance, it should be done in the right spirit and the right heart. It shouldn't be done because we're feeling pressure to perform for people, or to perform for an algorithm or a social media account. It should be done because it brings us joy and it lowers our stress. And that's exactly what it was to me, and that's why I came back. Right now, I definitely am having a lot more good days than bad days, and a lot more stronger days than weaker days. I definitely still have days where I can't get out of bed, and I definitely still have days where I deal with, health issues. But on the good days, I'm crafting, and it's because I can, and it's because I'm able to have that balance now. So on days where I feel weak, I allow myself to feel weak, and I allow myself to rest. And on days where I feel strong, I allow myself to craft. And for me, it's my job too, so I allow myself to work. Yeah, there is a balance, and finding that balance can be hard, but finding that balance, I think, is so necessary. And when we get off balance, I think that's just unhealthy. It's unhealthy when work outweighs things, and it's unhealthy when social media outweighs things, and it's unhealthy when we're not taking care of our bodies or our minds. But hopefully crafting is something that helps us and heals us, and if that's the case, then finding that balance is definitely an important thing. So thank you so much for the question, and maybe I'll include one next video.